How you doing, guys? Today is a video that's just all over the place. It is the senior running. My mind was just trying to focus on 10,000 things when I was filming the running of the engine for the first time. So I apologize for this video being all over the place, but it's really a product of the excitement that I had when this old 1955 Wisconsin AEN came to life, probably in decades. That's no exaggeration. It's probably been decades since this engine ran. So I hope you enjoy the video. Coming up, the installation of the clutch. And of course, in VinsRJ style, we have to modify, no parts, but I do have to modify the clutch alignment tool. It doesn't fit in the pilot bushing for the input shaft of the transmission. So I'm figuring that out, but we are working on the clutch. I got the pressure plate cleaned, flywheels cleaned, we got the nut and the washer, we got the new clutch plate. So all that's coming up in another video. But for this one, let's just enjoy the sweet sound of a Wisconsin.
I've got her running. It was a major pain getting it running, but it's alive for the first time in God knows how many decades. Sounds great, no smoke. Carburetor adjustment is definitely needed, but dang, she's alive. She is alive. This is take 2 on the running. Hoping to run it for like another half an hour. One of the things I'm going to work on is trying to get it to idle. I don't know if that's a cause between a lack of fuel in the idle circuit or too much fuel in the idle circuit, but at the end of the day, I need this thing to warm up in order to do that. So it runs great. Kind of a pain in the neck to start, but it does start and it seems to run really good. So alright, I am going to let this thing warm up a little bit and then try to adjust the idle.
One of the things I believe, not taking into account for when I was playing around with this idle is there's absolutely no load on the engine. The manual says that on a rebuilt motor, you really should be running it about 2 hours with no load, just free spinning the engine. And that's what I was doing during this period of time. So subsequently, I've probably put drag on the motor with the clutch, the input shaft, the transmission. So this idle situation, I believe, will rectify itself better once there's a little bit of load on the crankshaft. I'm giving it its first in the field oil change, and that oil looks pretty darn good. Yeah, looking down in there, I don't see a whole lot. I see a lot of sudsing or aeration. You can see it right there and stuff like that, but in general I think that looks pretty darn good. I mean, obviously there's some metallic in there, there's no way around it, but I'm going to let this drain and I'm going to refill it with fresh 30 weight Rotella, as well as, again, I'm going to put a little bit more brake and lube in it, but for right now, all right, I think that so far looks like it did pretty well, so I'm real happy with that. Gonna run it for another hour, not today. Maybe later on today I'll start it back up, let it run for about a half an hour. But as the manual says, 2 hours of run time without a load is recommended on a rebuilt engine. Doesn't appear we have any oil leaks coming from this side of the PTO side of the crankshaft. I don't see anything that, you know, causes alarm. There is a oil leak from underneath this bolt right here. Ow, muffler, hot. So that leaks, and then this pan bolt, not the big bolt, that's the engine hold, you know, mounting bolt, but there's an oil pan bolt right on the corner that seems to be leaking a little bit of oil too. So now the magneto leak is just going to be there because I'm not pulling that magneto out. I got the timing and the point set pretty darn good. I think that's pretty evident based on how it was running just a few minutes ago. So I'm not messing with that. That oil leak is just going to be a paper towel catcher. The oil pan itself, when I take the engine off in order to put the transmission and everything else back on, I'll probably just pull that bolt out, clean it up, and then put a little bit of little Durco sealer on it just to shut it up. All right, with that being said, I am going to just let this drain and we're going to refill it. I've run this engine for 2 hours with no load, so it's set and ready to be put back together with the clutch and flywheel and all that stuff. I couldn't be happier with the outcome of the motor thus far. Seems to run really good. I did do a stethoscope test on it around the block. There's no ticks or bangs in the motor. All the bearings and the camshaft sound to be spinning perfectly. The valves make a light little tick, opening and closing. I really couldn't be happier. This motor came out pretty darn good. The compression is absolutely ridiculous. If you have it on the compression stroke and try to start this engine, it will suck your fist back into the pulley. You gotta roll it off the compression stroke in order to get the momentum to get it to start. Love this motor. We're back in the garage on good terms. Ran it a half an hour, changed the oil, ran it for another half hour after it cooled off a little bit. Seemed to work real good. One thing I got to keep in mind, and I'm guilty of this all the time, when the engine starts to run like crap and you've been tuning a carburetor for a half an hour to an hour and it starts to run a little weird, you got to check the fuel. I think the fuel level got to a point where it's not really gravity feeding into the carburetor as hard as it should. So, but other than that, real good, really good. I mean, really the only thing that I can say that went kind of bad is for some reason the tappet cover bolt must have loosened up, or I didn't tighten it down enough. Some oil was starting to come out of that cover and the bolt. So cleaned it up, tightened up that bolt. That's that bolt right down in there. So that should be fixed. Carburetor doesn't seem to be leaking any fuel as of right this second. We changed the oil. Oh, the kill tab works. You know, just this is the first time I've ever put together a magneto, so that I can't complain about that. That seems to be working fine. The second go around, I did run it with the air cleaner on it, so that way I can dial it in a little bit more. The next thing is putting like the flywheel and the clutch and the transmission, all that stuff back onto the motor, which is obviously going to change all the settings to not to a great deal, but there's definitely going to be some you know, some changes needed here on the carburetor a little bit for those items, because the clutch flywheel is just as heavy as the iron flywheel on the front of the motor. All right, next up, I'm going to run the engine, not today, for another half an hour. That'll be the 2 hour run time with no load, as the manual says. So we can start getting ready to put that transmission back onto the tractor. The other thing too is I'm going to check the manual and see what the idle RPM is supposed to be. To me, it idles high, it idles fast, but then again, this is not a Kohler, so I don't particularly know, seeing that this is the first Wisconsin engine that I've ever rebuilt. All right, guys, thank you very much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and keep in mind, this is like the first time this engine is probably run in about 40 years. We're getting real close to the farewell to this project, and what I mean by that is the before and after. And I think you're going to be amazed if you don't watch my old videos and you see what this thing looked like. You're going to say, sweet Jesus. So all good. Hope you enjoyed this one. She's a runner. Need a little bit more break-in, and then we'll get that transmission on. All right, guys, thank you very much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, until the next project, you have a great day.